Reporting in
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another great edition of it's Renegade Radio, but it's a special edition of Renegade Radio. It's where we're doing some interviews, and it's always fun when we get to do interviews. And we're doing an exclusive interview today with somebody that I've had on my show before, but never on Renegade Radio. And in fact, getting him this time was kind of interesting how it kind of happened. It's just kind of we were kind of planning this interview for a little while, and it took a little while to make it happen. Let's just say this has been planned since like August of last year, before the start of Renegade Radio. Actually, it was probably planned almost over a year ago, or maybe farther than that, like but before the pandemic was kind of over. But my guest tonight, for this afternoon here on Renegade Radio on the YouTube page is Corey Stevens. And you're probably wondering, well, who's that? Well, he's a blues singer, and we've had him on the show before. I've interviewed. This will be the third time that I've had him interviewed him because I interviewed him once on the phone, and I think we did a Skype interview and back in 2018, and then this will be the first time since that time that we had him on. Maybe I should do like a. I wonder. People live, Renegade Radio, sharing your timeline, so they only hear you. Okay. Let's share my timeline. Let's see. What's going on, everybody? All you live crazy people here. We're looking forward to doing this interview here with Corey Stevens here. We're just kind of going to add that to the link here. Interview. The legendary. I'll share it all around now. Share it to everybody. Just now, just All righty. Well, what's going on, everybody? We're just waiting for Corey to show up here. Should be able to get in, hopefully. Pretty sure he probably has an iPhone or whatnot, but oh, well, what another great day. It's another fantastic Monday here. And yes, we are still doing the Renegade Radio actual show here tonight in another couple hours here or another 2.5 hours. We'll be doing our pre-show. Yeah, I gotta do something here. I think because of all the light and everything, I'm gonna adjust the background here and just kind of. I didn't really let it bother me before, but let's see, clear background. Does that matter? Well, I'll show my background. I don't care. I don't care. Oh, that was pretty. Well, that's pretty. Hey, I'm doing my show right now, so you're gonna have to. That's why I sent you the link, dude.
I'll have to watch later.
Okay. Yeah. I was getting interrupted. Like nobody calls me at all before I do anything. I don't see anything in my email. Okay. Let's see. Hold on, everybody. Here. Do you ever? Can you check your? Folder. Where did I get the email right? See, 59 Fender, FBA, Fender Strat. Yeah, it's the same email. That's same email. I can try again though here. What's going on there, Jay? Mr. Willie, I see that you gave me a like there. I gotta probably get you back on the show too. It's been a long time since we've done anything. I don't know if you're still making new music or not. I haven't really been checking up, but if you are and you want something to promote or whatever, let me know. We can definitely get you back on the show, or we can do a private interview. Kind of like this with Zoom. Because I'm all for that, man. You know that. Especially with old friends and people that I've had on my show before. I'm definitely all about that. So just let me know when you have a chance. There it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Corey Stevens is coming. The man of the hour. I put my phone away now. There he is. Hey,
Frankie.
what's going on there? How you doing?
Oh, good. It's kind of a crazy day.
Yeah,
Crazy day in LA, which is not normally the case, but
I can't imagine. With all that beautiful weather and everything, how
yeah,
crazy could it be, Oh, well, hey, I'm honored to be able to do this with you, man, because, it's been quite a while since the last time you and I have had the chance to speak or do anything like this. Because I
yeah.
believe you were releasing your album at the time in 2018, and we were talking about that. So, yeah. So a lot of time has passed since then. So, and now I do this podcast called Renegade Radio, but normally I do it with the crew, with more people. But
Yeah,
because you requested to do it like this, I'm doing it
yeah,
one-on-one with you.
yeah.
So welcome, my friend.
So where are you at?
I'm back in northern Minnesota.
Oh, northern Minnesota. I was just up in Minnesota a couple of weeks ago.
I know. I see that. I should have paid more attention because I live in Brooks now, which is not too far from like I'm only probably about 5 or 6 hours from like the cities.
Yeah,
Not maybe not even that far, probably even 4 hours because I'm closer now. I used to live in Greenbush, which is more up north, closer to Canada.
yeah.
But when I got a hold of you the last time back in 2018, I was still living in Rapid City, South Dakota at the time. And I was trying
Oh,
to do a show called Black Hills Blues, which probably could have been something by now if I would have stuck around over there, but a lot of BS happened and it just
yeah,
things weren't around. That year was kind of a weird year for me too, as we've had the last few years for everybody else.
yeah.
So I decided it was time to move back home and see what I could do at home, I guess. I didn't want to, but it just kind of had no other choice, I guess. It was just either that
Yeah.
or bullshit, I guess. But anyway, no, I'm excited to have you on the show. I know a lot of people when I announced that we were going to do this or were excited because I shared it everywhere, and some of your old friends probably that have seen you perform before, or people that know about you, especially from that. I know you're probably aware of the that Minnesota music history group page. Are you aware of that at
No,
all?
I don't.
Neil
No.
Neil what's his name? Neil something. Oh, I forget the last name. I know his first name, Neil. He's in charge of it. Oh, let me look real quick, so then I'll be able to figure out his name here. I don't want to butcher his name. That's what he's friends with me on Facebook here. Neil something. Let me just look here. Because this guy's been in charge of this page for a long time, and what it is it discusses all about Minnesota artists or people who have really performed in Minnesota a lot.
Yeah.
So this is his kind of his baby, kind of like. So that's kind of a lot of people that watch you perform, when you come to Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure are aware of that page anyway, because it's all about Minnesota artists and stuff, and you have a lot of Minnesota roots, I would say. What do you think?
Well, I just play there a lot. I've been there a lot. I have more friends there probably than anywhere. And if you added up all the nights I've been in a hotel room in Minnesota, I probably lived there a couple of years.
Oh, sure. Well, you seem to. I mean, you seem to be really. His name's Neil Bond. If
Oh,
that name
okay.
sounds familiar with you.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say that in a situation like that, that's what I mean. Like you have so much Minnesota history, you might as well just consider yourself
Yeah.
a resident or a
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, when everything kind of blew up was maybe 96, and I was touring and doing a lot of radio interviews, and I was in Brainerd and I was doing a radio interview, and the program director there said, KQ just added your song. And I didn't know what KQ was, but I knew like it was a big deal. I could tell by the way he was making, how he was reacting. And then when KQ, like when they got on board, it was really like a chain reaction, and I got a lot more airplay from a lot more radio stations. And then the and then I got really big in Kansas City, and
Oh,
you
sure.
know, a lot of places, but definitely, you know, the Twin Cities is has always been the big fan base that didn't leave me like a lot of places that did. You know, because I'm sure KQ doesn't play me anymore, you know.
Well, things have changed a lot in the radio world, as we all know, which is, I think, in a way, I mean, it can be good, considered good, but I always kind of look at it, the negative parts of it, because it's like, they don't, a lot of stations don't allow people to do late night shows anymore. It's all satellite based. It's all like it's
Yeah,
coming from a different place and not your own. And I'm a firm believer that radio should still, at least in some markets, especially a small market, when there's like not a whole lot going on in the town, and this is one of the things that people look forward to, the radio station. I think they should allow more local people to be able to do to do their shows like they used to do live
yeah,
in the studio.
yeah.
Now we don't
Right.
do that anymore.
Yeah.
So that
And you know, like, there was a time when like people there were more regional hits. Like I'm from Southern Illinois, but St. Louis was our big city that we were close to. And,
sure.
you know, there were bands like REO Speedwagon was huge, but the rest of the country didn't know who they were, you know. And
Yep,
then once radio consolidated, you didn't really have those regional hits anymore, you know. And I'm sure that was the case for Stevie Ray Vaughan in Austin. I'm sure like nobody knew who he was, but I would bet the radio station was playing him and, you know,
sure.
making him making him bigger.
And a lot of people that have listened to your music have, and even myself, because I can see it. I know we've talked about this before, but it's just like one of those questions that, well, it's not even really a question. It's more or less the fact that there's a lot of similarities to the way you looked, especially back in the day when you
Yeah.
were first starting out. I could see like a Stevie Ray Vaughan or Stevie Ray Vaughan, like doppelganger, almost like if you had a
Yeah.
twin, you definitely
Well,
had that look.
there there's a reason for that. So in the early 90s, I did a tribute to Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I never pretended, you know, I never said I'm, you know, I always said I'm Corey Stevens.
Sure,
And little by little, it really snowballed, and ended up having a really great band. And the drummer that played on the first album had just joined my band like maybe 2 weeks before we did that album. And the bass player had just joined like 3 months before. And they were just amazing musicians. And so I basically bankrolled this album to sell at my Stevie Ray Vaughan tribute shows. I wasn't making an album to release to the world, you know. And so then it came out and people compared me to Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it was just kind of like, well, I wasn't really expecting, you know, this album to go, you know, nationwide. And you know, and also the record company should have had the brains to change the artwork, but they did. I remember saying something like, "We should have changed the artwork," and the guy at the record company said, "You know, I just thought it was a cool album cover, you know, but I think it was kind of a bad idea." And then from the second album on, I just tried to distance myself from that, you know.
sure.
And the funny thing is, like, I have a big file cabinet here, and I go through my old reviews and stuff. And I was reading one, and it was so the guy just hated my first album, but he started out by saying I was just like a Stevie Ray Vaughan imitator, and you know, like you don't need to read any further or whatever. And then he just goes through, and I was just laughing. I thought it was hilarious. But at the time, I'm sure I would have been really traumatized, you know, because I
Oh
was
yeah,
trying to make it, and you know,
sure.
but now I look back and I'm like, I really, you know, it's just funny. I don't care. It is what it is. It was what it was, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, it's like I mean, if you could go back and be a fly on the wall and reappear at those times, and maybe things would have been
Yeah.
different. But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, regardless of looking similar to him, your style, was your own style. I mean, you
Yeah.
you did eventually find your niche, and
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the biggest similarity really is that kind of like what he did, where I kind of like synthesized a lot of the influences. Like he like I remember when he came out, and I'd be telling people like Steve Ray Vaughan is like awesome, you got to check him out. And people like, oh, he's a Jimi Hendrix wannabe or clone or whatever. So, and I think it was the same thing. Like I was heavily influenced by him. Like, but he had like also like Albert King that was just real. I mean, he was just basically imitating Albert King note for note. I mean,
Yeah,
but he improved on it all. I mean, I'm not knocking him, but I'm saying like I did the same thing. Like yeah, he was a big influence. And then I had a couple other big influences, and I just kind of like, and somewhere in the cracks was a song like Blue Drops of Rain and It's Over that were totally mine. Didn't sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan or anybody else.
sure, sure, sure.
So, and just like same with him, like Couldn't Stand the Weather. It doesn't sound like Jimi Hendrix or Albert King.
Yeah.
So,
No, and that's what I see. What I've heard about you, it wasn't, obviously back in the day, but it kind of feels like it was for my own personal taste now because of the fact that I believe it was 2007, and my friend Lil Bobby was doing pretty good at his performing, as far as like get to know everybody, trying to become his own name and everything, and eventually he would do that. But you and him kind of had a good relationship. I mean, I don't know. I'm
oh,
sure
good. I thought you were going to
you do.
say we had a
No,
I
no,
thought you were going to
no.
say we had a tiff or
No,
something.
no, 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 no. I always knew that everything was
Yeah,
good between you guys, and I'm pretty sure even now it still is. I would say I don't think you
yeah.
guys ever hate each other or whatever. But
No,
you like, were you like you were watching him perform, or he told me a story about you were watching him perform, and then I don't know. Did you? Is that where your friendship kind of really blossomed then, or
I
something?
think
Like,
maybe we did a show together. He
yeah.
probably opened for me at like a festival or something.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe up in your part of Minnesota up there somewhere.
Was it at the Empire Arts Center? Maybe.
Maybe that was a really cool venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that's a
The
grand
guy from the
party.
Fargo's Blues Festival, I think, was doing that. He had the indoor the winter Fargo Blues Festival there.
Sure.
That was
That
cool.
owner passed away, or the
Yeah.
original owner passed
I
away.
played the very first Fargo Blues Festival in
Oh.
1996 with it was me, Keb Mo playing just acoustic guitar, and Jeff Healey band. That was
Oh
the first
wow.
Fargo Blues Festival in 1996. Yeah,
Oh, that sounds like a good lineup anyway, regardless.
it was. It was great.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
you got some, some good history. I mean, I just the thing that I just don't understand is why pe a lot more people don't know. Like maybe people like do know about you, but it's like I feel like even on mainstream radio or even when I listen to like old blues, like if I listen to like satellite radio, I don't think
Yeah.
I even hear you on the radio at all. Like any of your songs, like if I do, it might be very rare, but because I'm friends
Yeah.
with early times and I don't,
I get airplay on Sirius. Is that what it is now?
yeah, yeah,
Sirius?
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking
because
about.
people will send me, they'll take a picture of their radio in their car and like, hey, they're playing you on Bluesville.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and then I get quite a bit of play on Spotify. That's kind of
Oh,
where
yeah.
everything and Apple Music. That's where everything. I get an email from Spotify, and this month they said I had 10,000 over 10,000 streams of the song "Blue Drops of Rain,"
Oh, wow. Wow.
which I mean I don't know what that equates to in money. Probably like 50
5 cents.
cents.
5 cents.
Yeah, 50 cents is dreaming, right?
50 cents. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I know, and that's what kind of sucks about being an artist, especially. I mean, I don't think you're a struggling artist because obviously you're living the good life, and look how nice you have a nice big house in Los Angeles
Yeah.
and everything. Life is good, but Spotify. I mean, have you ever? I mean, I'm sure that the thought has come up a lot, but have you ever bothered to get a hold of Spotify headquarters and kind of figure out the secret to why they don't want to take care of the artist, but they'll gladly have their music and everything. Because I have, I
Yeah,
love.
it's the music business. It's always been a racket. It's always been where people figure out how hoard all the money and not share it. And musicians are, we're just kind of like we're just kind of lost. And we need somebody. We need like the smart business guy to come in, and then the smart business guy always looks after himself before the
Oh,
dumb
of course.
musician. And it's a story that just gets repeated.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. But I mean, personally, for like as a somebody who's a fan of music, and especially since I have all the experience that I have with doing shows and everything, and music shows and whatnot, I love Spotify. To me, Spotify is
Yeah,
great. I mean, minus what they do to artists or whatever, but I like the fact that there's variety because where was this
yeah,
like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I mean,
yeah,
I love having a collection too, don't get me wrong, but it's just nice
yeah,
that everything's here. I'm
yeah,
a physical media guy, but I love that they've given you everything, even though
yeah,
we own nothing in the digital realm.
yeah. I had Spotify all last year because I wanted to see what the fuss was all about, like so I was
Yeah,
going to check this out. So I had it for a year and I liked it was it was it was pretty amazing to just like I haven't listened to King Crimson 21st Century Schizoid Man. And I was listening to that and I was like looking it up on Wikipedia and I was like, God, I forgot who was in this band. It was like, Greg Lake from Emerson Lake and Palmer.
yeah,
Anyhow, so all that, and then I really am into Paul Desmond. He was the sax player from Dave Brubeck. So that's kind of where like an example like you get Spotify and you discover all these albums by an artist you didn't know. And then
sure.
I got rid of that and got Apple Music and I tried that out and then I just canceled that and now I'm back to Pandora
Oh,
and
okay.
my own personal programming.
Well,
But I
well,
listen to a lot of classical and jazz. That's kind of
well,
mine.
the last time we talked, you were talking about how that you also collect. You're a big vinyl guy, or you have a collection, or you did. I don't know if you still do.
Yeah.
Whatever. What I mean, you listen to a lot of like what do you find time to just
I
do an
don't
album?
really have my turntable set up right now, and I just can't get rid of my vinyl. I just keep it, and it's just fun to really get it out and look at it. It really,
Uh-huh.
I mean, for somebody who's like 20 years old and hasn't really looked through too much vinyl. I mean, sometimes just the sleeve that holds the record, you pull that out and
Yeah,
it's like an advertisement for all the acts on the label. I mean, it's pretty cool. And it's like just typical of like what our life was like way back then. I can tell you're a lot younger, but
yeah, I'm
when I
40.
was a kid, I just listened to so much music and it's like
Okay.
that was just sit around. Like now I listen to music sometimes sitting around, but it's usually when doing things, listen to music. But back then I would just sit around and there wasn't a whole lot to do, and you just like would look at the album cover and read the credits and check out the
Sure.
artwork, and that was kind of part of the ritual. And now that's what's kind of weird about now where you're just kind of listening to music. And even if for me I release an album and I wonder if anybody's really gonna ever see the artwork, but you still do it because it's fun and you know
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I took in with CDs. When I
yeah,
collected CDs, that was always great. It was just a great feeling
yeah,
to get a package from Columbia House, even if I owed the money or whatever. It was always
yeah.
nice. Or to go to a store and see physical media. Because my dad got
Hmm.
me into all that stuff. He got me
Yeah.
into loving rock and roll. My first love was Buddy
Lucky
Holly.
you.
Buddy Holly and a lot of people my age probably didn't understand the roots of rock and roll or give a shit about the roots of rock and roll, but I did because that's
Yeah.
how I grew up. Now I'm not a musician myself, but having the love of radio and learning about that and have that knowledge now that I do,
Yeah.
I think it's come full circle,
Yeah.
because I will always love music and that'll always be no matter
Yeah.
what. And some people
Yeah.
say as you get older, your taste change or you like completely delete it from your life. I don't think I could ever delete it from my life. You know?
Yeah. Well, I took a break from 2019 and it's like I was just kind of tired. I wasn't really, I don't know if I thought I was gonna just stop, but I was really tired of just going to LAX. That was the main problem is I hate going to LAX and then I don't mind flying, but it's a lot of preparation to go do shows. And so anyhow, I just found myself listening to more music than I ever had because before I was always like practicing or writing songs or recording or rehearsing and I just had time to just listen to music. And I just went back to everything I listened to in high school pretty much,
Sure.
like the Stones and the Beatles and Steely Dan and then and I just have like playlists like Sheryl Crow, Sade, I really like, and Al Green. And in fact, if I'm thinking about, I don't, I always think I'm going to have an angle when I do another album. So I'm kind of working on some songs right now, but I'd like to do something kind of like Memphis,
Okay.
like Al Green and Stax stuff.
Okay.
I really listen to that a lot. And the Muscle Shoals guys.
Like doing covers of those tunes or doing
No,
what type of variety
no,
of
you
your own
just kind of
style?
like that, yeah, but do
Oh,
my own
okay.
thing, yeah,
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I watched
And
that
I've
documentary on Muscle Shoals a long time ago. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So the
And
history of
I've
like,
I've reached out to a bunch of people. I live in LA, and it's just like just in my neighborhood, I've got like with my wife and daughter who are musicians, I've got four other people in my neighborhood that are songwriters. So I've kind of reached out to people and said, "Hey, let's write a song." So I've got at least like 7 or 8 people
oh,
I'm going to co-write with this time, which I really haven't done. So it should be interesting. I'm
yeah.
hoping these people are good at lyrics because I can write music all day long, but it's the
Well,
lyrics that I labor over.
well, that was what I was going to ask you about because the last time we spoke was basically to promote the album at that time, and I have it on here. It was the 2018 album, "The Party's Gonna Go On," and that
Right.
was the last time that you and I spoke. And I listened to that album, prior to you sending it to me, and I really enjoyed it. It was, I mean, it's still relevant, and
Yeah.
I feel like your music, like from what you used to do to what you have done in the last probably 10 years or so, or maybe even 15 years, is more, I mean, would you say kind of political music, kind of in a way?
Well, the one before that was kind of political.
But
The
I mean, like,
2014 album.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was when like the whole like when Julian Assange situation happened, and before that, Michael Hastings. I don't want to get into it, but
Sure.
anyhow, that was the only album I ever did that was like a concept album, and it was very political, but not like Democrat, Republican political.
Oh,
More
but
more
it, but
like
it,
just a lot of people don't know that the word political also means current events. And that was kind of my angle. And I'd never done an album where I had to kind of stick to a theme. I couldn't just randomly write songs. And I was like literally on my MacBook Pro, like looking up things because I like one song called "Don't Drone Me, Bro," about droning people. And I had to look up because I wasn't, I thought it was Hellfire missiles, but I wasn't sure. And it was just like that kind of stuff where I really had to have my information correct, where, normally you're just writing.
well,
But
the
I
song,
look back at my albums, and it's like sometimes I think like, wow, would it have been better if I kind of would have stuck to that early formula? Because people love my first album. That's all they talk about, Blue Drops of Rain. And they
sure.
like the second album, and it's definitely different. And I think, should I have stuck to that? And then I look at my favorite bands like Steely Dan and the Beatles. They didn't stay in one place.
Yeah,
Tom Petty. I think
yeah.
Tom Petty's stuff was great, but like 15 years after he got going, I think he really, turned the corner and made, a lot better records, than
Well,
the early stuff.
that song, "The Last DJ," is kind of like similar to like your song, "You Used to Be Cool," because
You got it.
I love songs that have to like do about controversy with radio because I feel like if more people did songs like that,
Yeah.
maybe radio would get their shit together and go back to their old roots
Well,
and stuff.
yeah, I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, and what needs to happen is radio needs to go back like they did to, like, say back, I don't know when it was, late 60s, early 70s. They hired the program director didn't know music. It was all changing. He didn't know what was going on. So he hired DJs, and each DJ just did his own show. So each DJ was programming his own show, and that's what they need to get back to,
Absolutely.
at least like a little bit. It doesn't have to be all the time, but it's like what they've done is it's like us in my song, "You Used to Be Cool," man. It
Yeah.
breaks my heart.
Oh, yeah, it
It
breaks my
really
heart
does. I
too.
loved FM radio.
Yeah. I worked
And
for a couple stations and that I volunteered for at the college and another college in South Dakota. And it just even those formats, it's like I mean it's cool that they're letting people do that, but it's like I want, a career in radio would have been great. And I feel like if I would have graduated or been around like 1990 or 91 or 92 or prior to 9/11 anyway, we'll say.
Yeah, yeah,
That I probably would have had a career in radio at that time, but
yeah. It would have
yeah, it just
changed.
sucks.
It would have
Yeah.
changed for the worst.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's just, I agree with you because it's like I think it had to do with what the payola. It's either I get the name of this. Is it payola or
Oh
payola
yeah.
or
Hmm.
payola? Because
Well,
payola.
yeah, see the here's what they did was first, like, for me, in my personal opinion, I think payola should be okay. I mean, like, look, you're a radio station, you're for profit. Why can't you accept money to play stuff? But anyhow, Congress, like, no, you can't do that. I don't know why. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but that's what they did. So the way they, this is how businesses, they always find a workaround. So what they did was there's, instead of payola, it's called independent promotion. So what you do is you hire a guy who's not working for the record company, and so you go over to that guy and you say, here's $50,000, promote this new album. And then he takes care of, so if there's any, like, so first of all, the record company's getting what they want, but then there won't be any blowback for them. And then
Uh-huh.
these independent promoters, somehow they just seem to pull it off,
Sure.
or they did. I don't know what's going on now. I'm sure it's still going on now, but
Well, is that
there's
what
a
happened?
there's a great book called Hitmen.
Okay.
I've read two or three times, and it came out in the 80s, about Joe Isgro, and he was like the biggest independent promoter guy. Yeah, that tells you how that was, like,
Is,
in probably 85, I'm guessing.
is that what kind of happened to Alan Freed? Like he was known as like kind of the king of radio or rock and roll radio or whatever. He invented that
Yeah,
term anyway, and then all of a sudden they
yeah,
found out that he was doing all that stuff. And but I mean, I think it made an impact because he was doing something positive. He wasn't just doing it to fill his
yeah,
pockets or whatever. He was helping people who he believed was talented to
yeah.
get their number ones, and
And the funny thing about that story is Dick Clark was also, like, pulled into that,
yeah,
and he came out okay.
yeah,
Somehow they didn't charge him, but he had, like, oh my, the story about Dick Clark is crazy. Like, he had, like, co-owner co like writing co-writing credits,
uh-huh,
and uh I mean, like, he was just, like, totally, like, I mean, he was
yeah.
powerful. I mean, if you got the band and they went on American Bandstand, that would help break the record. So, it's kind of like I said in the beginning, like, why not give that guy something if he's
Exactly.
giving you something? But he seemed to get around it all, and everybody forgot about that. Nobody even knows about that.
Well, even with the fact that we have like sales managers and salespeople and all these other different departments, it could still work like it used to. Like, to go back to the format of just saying, hey, we're gonna let people, do their shows live. We will still do automation when we need to if somebody's
Yeah,
not around, because that's technically what automation was supposed to be for. Like if you're gonna be sick or whatever, or if you're
yeah,
not gonna make it, or on vacation, you had a voice track your show or whatever. That's what it was originally for. And then they just figure, oh, we'll just do this all the time now.
yeah, yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
in
I
Las
was lucky to see the whole music business that I loved, and that was the business I wanted to get into. I was lucky, like, because I got a record deal in 95, and those, like, the latter part of 95 was kind of the beginning of the end, but it was still like DJs, and you just saw it changing, how the consolidate. You go to a radio station and there'd be like 12 rooms with
oh,
12 stations. And you go in there and there were no records. They would have everything on, like, a computer screen, and they would just be
sure.
playing stuff, and it was, yeah, it just it was sad.
In
It was just
Los
sad.
Angeles, I mean, I suppose they're pretty much. I mean, I suppose there's hundreds of stations over there. Is there any stations that you know of that still allow people to do stuff 24/7, or is it all kind of, oh, we do a morning show and an afternoon show, but no night shows are live. They're
I
all
don't know. I don't know.
you don't listen to much of
I
it
don't
anymore.
listen to it. I was in an Uber the other day, and they were playing this station called Coast, Kost,
Okay,
and it was pretty good. I liked the mix of songs, and it was funny because it was in the morning. I was going to LAX, so it was the morning show, and they were actually playing music, which was cool. And then they had some girl that was called Social Clean Charlene or something. I was like, is she
Like what?
socially clean? Like when she goes on social media, whatever.
Oh,
But
geez.
there were no ads. The only ads were ads she was reading,
Uh-huh.
and there were like most of them were for like the CIA is recruiting, looking for new recruits.
Oh,
I
geez.
thought,
Sounds
okay,
like it. That's what it
FM
sounds like.
radio is now doing CIA commercials,
That's crazy. That's crazy. No, well, I mean, for me, I've always just been fascinated by stuff like that. That's why, talk about satellite radio and how that's changed everything too.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just, I don't want there to ever be a time where music just kind of, well, it'll never, I don't think it'll ever fade away. But I mean, it's like, I think it's always just going to continue to evolve. But I mean, do you think the blues is always just going to be the blues, or has that evolved too? Do you think in time during the time, not just
Well,
because of what's going on, but just
I remember like in the late 80s going to a lot of blues festivals in early 90s, and you still had a lot of big marquee acts. And then like by 90, I know in the early 90s I saw Albert Collins and I saw Albert King twice, and then they died. And then after that, there just wasn't, there wasn't a lot of blues guys left.
sure,
I mean, I saw Willie Dixon at a blues festival, blew my mind. Uh, I saw Little Milton, and I did a show. I opened for I'm gonna blank on it now. Etta James.
uh-huh,
She was still around like by the late 90s. But
sure,
without promoting the young guys, it's like there's no big stars left, like there was. I mean,
sure.
there's a few, but I don't really know who. And then the ones that are big stars, you kind of wonder like, how are they getting promoted so much?
You talking like the
Um,
Joe Bonamasas of the world?
no, no, but
That
yeah.
guy blew up pretty big. I mean, I don't know what his secret was, but it's
You know,
like
I was aware of him in
talent.
the 80s. I saw my friend gave me a video he taped off of some show
Yeah,
when Joe was like
little
probably
kid.
not even 10,
Yeah.
and he was like ripping it up.
He played with BB King. Like BB King kind of helped discover him a little bit. Like they went to a show, and because his
Yeah.
dad sold guitars, kind of like Norman Harris does at Norm's Guitar.
Yeah. Right.
Kind of the same situation, kind of. And Joe grew up with that, and that's kind of what inspired him to love music and stuff because of the guitar business. And he didn't want to be a guitar salesman;
Yeah.
he wanted to be his own artist and everything. And after being told
Yeah.
many times no, he finally just he did his own thing, and he got a crew that believed in him. And there's a documentary out about him, and
Yeah.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I
there's
did a show with Joe. What would it have been? 2000. Oh, maybe like 2004 or something. So he was only like 20, maybe in his early 20s then.
sure. Well,
He's a nice guy. Just a
you
nice
both
guy.
were at Thief River Falls in 2007.
What's
My
that?
home, where I live, real close. I work at the casino, right? Seven Clans Casino in Thief River. You guys
Hmm.
were there for the last Red
Oh
Blues
yeah.
Festival. Both of you guys were. I don't know if you were both the headliners at all, or
We
did the
weren't on the
same
same
night.
day, I don't
You
think.
were, yeah, because I know we had
Yeah.
the Fabulous Thunderbirds on that year because Johnny Lang was supposed to be. He was
Yeah.
supposed to come and he didn't show up at all because they were going to
Yeah.
charge people for the festival, but they decided not to, so they got some other people. But I remember you being on that card anyway,
I remember playing, it was me and Coco Montoya and John Mayall. But that might have been a different casino because that's,
okay, but I do remember you being there. You were at one of the events, and that was
yeah.
my early days of when I first started over there. I haven't
Yeah.
been there that long. I've had other jobs and did other things, but I
Yeah.
recently just went back to the casino because there ain't shit around my area to do. That I
Yeah.
find interesting. And no radio station will hire me, so
Yeah.
I figure, well, I'll just go back to the casino then and be a
Yeah.
security guard. Anyway, yeah, but I remember that festival, and I remember here because I never seen you live before in person, and I was blown away. I mean, I mean, I mean, like when you go back to like your early days when you like the first like real performance that you did in your career, I'm sure you had a lot of nerves back in those days, but what helps you cope? Like other than just knowing the music or whatever, but like what got you through like your early shows like back in the day without being
Uh,
so stressed?
you mean like being nervous or something, or?
Yeah, like how did you how did you feel like I'm sure you were happy that you could be perform in front of a big crowd, but like what were some of the feelings you were going through to get you through the shows
Well,
that you
probably
performed?
like a lot of Crown Royal because that was my thing for many, many years. But I never drank
Oh,
before shows and I never drink after shows. So I'm sure there were a
uh,
lot of people that thought it was more like I don't know. It was, it was kind of my shtick, I think, more than anything. But I finally quit drinking just because the headaches and
sure.
sleeping bad. It just wasn't worth it. And I've quit doing a lot of things, and that's one I don't really miss is the drinking, you know.
Do you remember kind of like the first big festival or show that you ever performed?
Well, I played a big festival in the early 90s up in San Jose and with Eric Burden and I mean
Oh,
I always forget the
animals.
name of these two guys. Uh, they were really big back then. And one guy played guitar, one guy played harmonica. Uh, and then 95 was the first year I really started going out and playing bigger shows.
Oh,
And I
sure.
opened for Foreigner and uh, and I knocked on Mick Jones' dressing room and said hi to him. And he was really, really nice. Uh, so that was probably the first really big show where it was like, I don't know, probably 5,000 people at least. It was a big, probably more, I don't know. But I don't know, back in those days, man, I was just like bulletproof. I didn't get, if I got nervous, I always looked at it as like a good nervous because
Uh-huh.
I get a lot of adrenaline when I play and like I'll
Sure.
practice and do rehearsals, but I'll always play way better at a show just because I'm kind of like an overachiever and running on a high adrenaline and that all just kind of amps me up and uh but I've always liked that. I mean, then I took some time off and I started playing again last year, and that show was weird because I was nervous the whole show. And you know, usually you're nervous maybe, and then you settle down.
Well,
But I hadn't played in like 4 years, and I
yeah,
was
so you
just like
kind of lost track of
I
yourself.
was, but I mean, I played great, and I was clear-minded, but I just couldn't settle down. It was just like I was in a car wreck for 2 hours, you know.
Well, you've had a lot on your mind, I'm sure, with all I don't want to get too personal because,
Yeah,
of the interview, but like, you've gone through some things and I understand and maybe that's
yeah.
part of it, maybe. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say. But what do you think about people that go back like, Rolling Stones just started their new tour just like a couple weeks ago? I mean, what do you think about people that do stuff like that are in their 80s, 90s, or whatever, still rocking it up?
Hey
Is
man, I can't
there a
I'd be doing
purpose?
the same thing too if I could be going out playing stadiums and making millions of dollars, I don't, you know.
But do you think
I can't forgive them for getting rid of Mick Taylor.
but do you
Mick
think
Taylor is one of my
but,
favorites.
but do you think it's not about the money anymore? Do you think it just or do you think it's just because they just don't want to like they're too afraid that people are going to forget about them or something or do you think
I
it is
think
about the
it's
money?
partly about the money. It's a lot of money to like they know that money's there and you know, and Mick is a very astute businessman and so and you know, and I think they love doing it. It's not that much work, really. I mean, they go like in the old days, a band would go out and tour for at least like 6 weeks or something. And a lot
Yeah.
of these bands now, they'll do like 3 shows a week, and they'll do it for like maybe do like 15 shows, and you know, they travel on a private jet, and it's just you know, stay in the best hotels. It's like it's living the dream, and they're just like you know, they're still doing it, you know.
Well, I would hope it's also because of the love of the music too.
Yeah.
I mean, money, yes, I understand that, but it's like if you're a successful musician, how much money do you need? You should have enough right now by the time you get
Yeah.
to a certain age.
I think Mick Jagger loves it. I think he loves like getting out on stage and you know
Yeah.
and killing it. And I remember seeing a documentary on him, and they were like, what are you think before you go on stage? Like, are you nervous?" And he's like, "I think this better be a good fucking show," you know. So I think he like it's like that's how it should be. You should feel that pressure that you're going to put on the best show possible, you know. And I think that's probably a big reason he's doing it is like it's a challenge and there's a lot of money in it too, but I think it's, you know, it's got to be a lot of fun.
So you were playing a couple weeks ago. You were in the city. You were in southern Minnesota. I think was it in Medina or where was it? Where
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was anyway. Uh, so let me ask you this: did you feel like you put on a pre prime performance after not performing for a little bit, or
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it was, you know, in some ways maybe it was the best show, but in some ways it was like the best show we ever did because we had not only a piano player, Bruce McCabe, but then I had my own B3 player, Paul Testa, playing. So I had
oh,
piano and organ. And then the opening band, the Jorgensens, I conned them into singing backup, Kurt and Brianna.
yeah,
And they're like amazing. And like I didn't, you know, I don't live in Minnesota, so I didn't
yeah.
really get a chance to rehearse with them. And man, when we went over the songs at the sound check, I was just like, wow. I was not so, you know, we had like I usually don't have like really cool backup harmonies. So yeah, in some ways it was like a really amazing show.
Paul Testa, that name sounds familiar. I think that Bob played. That was one of
Yeah,
Bob's guys. He's still around.
probably. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the guy, but it's like I remember, he was getting up there in age back in the days, so I didn't know if he was still doing anything or not. I mean, as people get older, so it's like you
Well,
don't.
Paulie never did drugs, so he's got that going for him, you
Oh,
know.
that's good.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you have a
Never
pretty
I don't
good?
think he ever drank either. I mean, I never saw him drink, so
So
you
so
know.
when performing in front of people and doing a good show, or even if the show goes array, how much influence does the audience have on you to do a good show when it comes
Um,
to just you know doing whatever?
well, I guess a lot. I mean, because I'm like Mick Jagger walking out on stage. I'm like this better be a great show, you know.
Yeah,
It's like anybody, like a comedian, anybody. When you go out and do a live show, you're thinking like shit could go wrong, you know. You could have a technical problem. You could forget a lyric, you know. I mean, if I forgot the lyrics to a song at the very beginning, I might like be kind of stuck there. You know, if
oh
I forget
sure,
a lyric in the middle of the song, it's okay, but just getting going, and like if I forget, you know, so you're worried, you're thinking like of all the things that could go wrong, and then you've got the experience to know that most of the time everything went great.
sure.
So there's that. But so yeah, I mean, it's like the audience is like it's pressure,
I
and I
know.
like try to. I've kind of for a long time I did well when I was drinking Crown Royal. I was
Yeah,
talking to the audience, no problem, and then I quit drinking, and then I wasn't talking to the audience as much, and now I've kind of figured out like how to talk to the audience in a way that I really like because I hate people that repeat things. You know, you see them at one show and they said it at that show, another, you know, I think that is just so weird.
sure,
And I don't like saying corny things that people say, and I don't like audience participation where you get them, you know, I think that's corny.
sure,
So I've learned to kind of like do things where I talk to the audience and then I feel like I'm kind of interacting. Like I'll be talking and I'll like this last show a couple of weeks ago, I was like trying to make a point of how in the old days, I don't even know how I got on this, but I was making a point of how in the old days you go hear a concert and the opening band would have nothing to do with the headliner, you know. And
uh-huh,
I was and I couldn't remember the name of either band. So I'm like, you know, the band that did 21st Century Schizoid Man, and somebody yells
yeah,
out King Crimson, and like, yeah, and then the band opener for them was they did Jim Dandy, and somebody yelled out Black Oak, Arkansas, and so you feel like, and I like that because I didn't plan that. I'm not like, okay, let's do questions and get people involved, or, you know, but it
sure,
just happens, you know, like at that moment, you're really connecting with the audience, or, you know, it feels that way. And like when people applaud for a song, it's great and, you know, you like it, but it's not like a connection because it's just kind of tradition, you know, you play a song, but when people like yell things out, you feel like you got okay, now we're connecting here, you know.
Sure, sure. Well, I know that a lot of artists, and I've noticed this from going to past concerts and festivals, that's a lot of people nowadays, and maybe this has always been a thing, I don't know, but they create like a set list of what they're going to play for the day or for that evening or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you ever change it up, just like improvise?
Every yeah, every all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the band's okay with that. They don't care that if because they know what they know what they got to do. If you say, well, we're gonna sing
Yeah. I
a song,
mean,
we're gonna
it's
go this one here.
yeah. And then it's always good to like throw in some new song that you didn't do and everybody's got to learn it, you know. And so it's yeah, it's good to mix things up. And like what we did last this show a couple of weeks ago is I live in LA, my band lives in the Twin Cities, so I rehearsed by myself with a bunch of backtracks I made from the Myth Live album. And if I don't have those songs, then I just play along with the drum machine. And I came up with like some cool little changes. Like at the end of Blue Drops of Rain, we went into this cool instrumental thing. And, you know, so it's just like you try to think like, even if, you know, you can't, for me, I can't go not go do Blue Drops of Rain. I have to do that. And there's certain songs
Sure,
you have to do. But you got to remember, like, everybody sees you, they've heard you, and you can't, you got to like, you know, mix the set list up a little bit. And in that case, like, you know, change it up a little bit, give them a little surprise where you go into a totally different little jam, you know.
sure, sure, sure. Well, I tell you, Corey, I do appreciate you let me do this interview. I know it's been kind of a long time coming because we've been planning this for quite a while. It just, been
Yeah.
kind of some bumps in the road. But my last question, I guess, and then we'll get to some promotional stuff. Uh, what do you think your legacy will be? What do you want people to remember about you and your music, I guess?
I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, my legacy for some people will be is like I stepped on sacred grounds and copied Stevie Ray Vaughan and did Lenny. Oh my God. It's just like, you know, and then you know, I don't know. I maybe my legacy is just the singing because like there's a tons of guitar players out there who don't make it. And you gotta go like why if you're a guitar player, why did you make it over people who can play a lot better than you? And it's a lot of like times the songs and the singing that people really connect to. And then the guitar playing is all they talk about, you know?
Sure.
Like you go see Eric Clapton and you're like his voice is amazing. Even now, his voice is still amazing. And but you leave the concert, you don't go, wow, his singing is great. You know, they just talk about his guitar playing. And I think really your legacy is, you know, kind of like the singing. That's what kind of got in the songs. That's kind of what got you there, you know.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, for anybody that hasn't learned a lot from this interview, how can they find you and learn about more about you?
Well, I'm on Facebook and I'm just a normal guy. I go on there and, you know, I try and have social media kind of freaks me out because I'm really afraid like I'm going to say something really stupid or piss people off. And that's, you know, that's why you know, I kind of like don't go on it a lot, but you know, I have a Facebook page. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, like a
Facebook.
Facebook
It's like
page.
the real Corey Stevens with periods between the and the other words. And
Sure.
then I have a website, coreystevens.com, that I need to overhaul. That's a whole story in itself, but it's got
Sure.
like a bio and some
Sure.
things,
Well,
and
that's
it's got
awesome.
tour dates. But you know, Facebook is like I know a lot of people like Instagram, and my age group, they're all on Facebook. I talk to people like, "Hey, how'd you find out about the show?" Facebook, Facebook. So I figure like you know,
Yeah.
Facebook
I
is
mean,
you know
it's out there. I mean, it's
outlived MySpace.
yeah, yeah. How many people still have a MySpace page? I think the sites still exist, but they're not really. I don't know. Nothing's really going on with that anymore. That's
Oh God, that was my first foray, and I was like trying to figure out and what is this
that's
MySpace? And then
probably
you have your main friends, and you get to so you cultivate like your these friends, your eight friends or whatever. It was they had like a lot of stupid ideas.
Well, I remember when Facebook first came to be, and it was okay for a little bit, but then when they added the chat feature where you could actually chat live with somebody, that's when
Oh,
it started to really grow.
Yeah.
But before that, it was just no different than the MySpace page. It just looked
So
different.
you can chat like one-on-one kind of
Yeah, like how we like I
like
could chat with you on Messenger right now if you were
with a
on Messenger.
video?
Yes, even with
Oh,
video.
really?
But
Oh,
I
okay.
I prefer like as far as do it like this way, do Zoom because
Yeah.
for some reason it's better to capturing audio and video at the same time.
Yeah.
I could get a virtual mixer, but it's like sometimes those are difficult, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just have a simple setup, but I have a nice computer that
Yeah, and
processing.
you're just capturing voice, so it's not that
Yeah.
complicated.
No lag, not too much anyway. I have good internet
Yeah.
too. So, well, Corey,
Yeah.
I tell you what, I do appreciate this. I know it's been a long time coming, but it's nice to finally get this accomplished, and it's good to see you too because it's like I always wonder about you, even though we do talk sometimes on the phone or whatever. But
Yeah.
well, make sure you're doing okay because, like I said, I know you've got some things or whatever, and
Yeah.
but it's good to know that you're still rocking and rolling. Never forget that,
Well,
never
thanks,
forget
Frankie.
yourself, yeah. And I do appreciate it. So thank you for being a part of this interview and thank you for
Sure.
being part of Renegade Radio. We'll see you next time.
My
Bye,
pleasure.
everybody.
Okay.